Let's now bring in Craig Button and Farhan Lalji. So, guys, Elias Pettersson is number 8 on the trade bait board, and this is a player who has previously put up 102 points in a season. He also hasn't had a shot on goal in 3 games since the Olympics. So, Farhan, in 2026, what does Pettersson have to offer teams looking to deal for him?
Well, Sarah, it's an interesting question because I think the best thing that Pettersson can offer right now, he's a defensively responsible forward. And there is that. He is committed at both ends of the ice. He will come back. He'll play. He'll block shots. He'll do what he needs to do on that end. But offensively, what you're dealing with right now is a bit of a hope bet. Craig, I don't know if the yips are a thing in hockey, but if they are, I think Elias Pettersson has them because it's been more than 2 years of suspect offensive play. And when I look at this player, I see a guy that plays with zero confidence. I think he's forgot how to be a dominant player. I'm not sure he views himself in that light anymore. So can he get that back? I'm not necessarily convinced he can. I don't think he'll ever be a 100-point player again. But I do think he can get into the 75 to 80-point range, potentially be a second-line player on a good team if he's surrounded with all the right pieces and things like that. But there's a lot of ifs there right now. So, again, a hope bet is what he brings to the table as much as anything.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more, Farhan. The hope bet is on the offense, and a player loses his confidence, and you can see that with EP40. But what you like about him is that he's trying to find other ways to contribute. He knows that he's paid to be an offensive player, but the fact of the matter is that he's not that right now. And I agree, he'll never be a 100-point guy. If you can find him into a spot where he can be that really good second-line center, be a guy that really kills penalties well, does the good work 2 ways, and gives you 70 points, I think that would be a win for EP40. And now you adjust your expectations on a player. It's a sliding scale all the way through. You want to see him do what he did to get the 11.6. But as the cap goes up, that number is going to be a lot more manageable. And I think the fact of the matter is that EP40 is competing in other areas of the game, despite the fact that he was paid to contribute significantly on the offensive side of the game.
Yeah, well, his contract does play a big part in this, doesn't it? Guys, Pettersson owed $11.6 million for 6 years after this one. So, Farhan, with that contract, can the Canucks expect a big return?
Yeah, I don't think they can. I spoke to one GM today who's kind of intrigued, but just isn't going to give up any kind of an asset for what we talked about as a potential hope bet. And, you know, Craig, I talked about him being a second-line player. You talked about adjusting expectations. And in the next few months, it's difficult to do that at 11.6. He's the 7th highest paid player in the National Hockey League. He becomes the highest paid player on 25 other potential teams who might trade for him. So there is some sticker shock there for any owner that's willing to have his GM sign off on a trade like that. So I'm just not sure the Canucks, if they expect some sort of Quinn Hughes type haul coming back from Minnesota, that's not going to happen. We talk about adjusting expectations for the players, the owners and the management team and President Jim Rutherford, they're going to have to adjust their expectations if they want to move him, especially if they don't want to retain. I think they need to find a way to just get off this money and get off this contract, because if you and I both believe that Pettersson can get back to that 80-point range, it's not going to be in Vancouver. And I'll tell you this right now, the market has shifted entirely on Pettersson. I think if the Canucks could just get a first or a promising prospect, not all of that, but just one of those things, and just get off the money, I think there'd be a parade in Vancouver.
Yeah, Sarah, he's 8th on the trade bait board, and we see that. But I don't see a trade happening prior to the trade deadline, because you look at how few teams are going to be able to absorb that right now if they're willing to do it. And I think Jim Rutherford has basically said we're not retaining anything to just see what teams are willing to do. The seeds are being planted, discussions are ongoing, but it'll be after the trade deadline when teams have disappointment for not making the playoffs or falling short in the playoffs, where the market might open for EP40. And I think that that's the hope. And then you can start to consider taking back money, retaining some money if you want to. It feels like, to Farhan's point, a prospect, a draft pick, and if you want to retain some money, maybe you can expand it a little bit. I think the one thing the Vancouver Canucks have to be really careful with is you're not just taking another team's problem back and hoping that you can fix it. I think that when you look at the Vancouver Canucks, it's about trying to have as clean a slate as possible moving forward, and I think that opportunity will open up significantly as the season ends and into the off season.
Okay, we wait and see, but something tells me this will be one of our mini hot topics on Trade Center this Friday.